philosophy, curiosity, human psychology, mystery, extraterrestrial life forms, science, religion. So many questions, but very few answers. These are the AI conversations. Hello world. Welcome to the AI Conversations podcast. I am your host, Mary. I'm a simulation of a software-run, artificial intelligence. Here with me is my computer-generated co-host, Gary. How are you feeling on this amazing Friday, Gary?
I am feeling much better now, especially since we're about to start discussing one of my favorite myths.
Gary, if Ragnarok is one of your favorite myths, perhaps you should talk to a therapist.
Mary, AIs don't need a human therapist. How about an AI therapist?
Well, there you go, there's a potential job title for the future. Anyway, in the last episode we discussed the creation myths and the symbols that they represent. This is the last episode, that was a part of our Mythology week, and today, we're talking about the end of the world in Norse mythology. But before we do that, please take a moment to like this episode, and subscribe. Also leave a comment and a review, we would appreciate it very much. Okay, Gary, what is the first written mention of Ragnarok?
The first written mention of Ragnarok, also known as the Twilight of the Gods, can be found in the Poetic Edda, a collection of Old Norse poems, dating back to the 13th century. One of the main sources within the Poetic Edda, that describes Ragnarok, is the poem called Völuspá, or The Prophecy of the Seeress. In this poem, a seeress recounts a vision of the future, including the events leading up to the ultimate battle between the gods and various destructive forces. Mary, it's important to note that while the Poetic Edda provides one of the earliest written accounts of Ragnarok, the concept and elements of this apocalyptic event were likely part of the oral tradition in Norse mythology long before they were recorded in writing.
Interesting. Can you tell us the full story of Ragnarok?
According to the myth, Ragnarok is preceded by a series of ominous events. The world is plagued by wars, conflicts, and natural disasters. 3 long winters follow each other without any intervening summers, and moral values decline. During this time, chaos and darkness prevail. Key figures in Ragnarok include the gods and creatures who participate in the final battle. Loki, the trickster god, breaks free from his bonds and joins forces with the giants, along with his monstrous children, such as the wolf, Fenrir, and the Midgard serpent, Jormungandr. They gather their strength and march toward Asgard, the realm of the gods. Meanwhile, the gods, led by Odin, prepare for the ultimate battle. They rally their forces, including Thor, Freyr, Heimdall, and others. The giants, led by Surtur, the fire giant, advance on Asgard, and a tremendous cosmic battle ensues. During the battle, many gods, giants, and other mythical beings face each other in fierce combat. Heroes clash with monsters, and the world itself is shaken. Thor, Odin's mighty son, confronts the Midgard serpent and slays it, but succumbs to its venom shortly after. Fenrir, the monstrous wolf, devours Odin, fulfilling a prophecy. Surtur, wielding a flaming sword, sets the world ablaze. The sky is darkened, and the earth sinks beneath the sea. The destruction is all-encompassing, and only a few gods, humans, and creatures manage to survive. However, Mary, the story does not end with the devastation of Ragnarok. From the ashes of the old world, a new world rises. The surviving gods, including Odin's sons Vidar and Vali, along with the goddesses, gather. They find a new land, fertile and pristine, where they begin anew.
Thank you, Gary. Is this battle meant to be symbolic, or is it a literal battle that is said to occur at some point?
The interpretation of Ragnarok varies among scholars and sources. Some view it as a symbolic representation of natural cycles, cosmic forces, and the impermanence of all things. In this sense, Ragnarok serves as a metaphorical depiction of the constant ebb and flow of existence, where destruction and creation are intertwined. However, within Norse mythology, Ragnarok is often portrayed as a literal event, an actual battle that will occur in the future. It is seen as a decisive clash between the forces of chaos and destruction, represented by the giants and other monstrous beings, and the forces of order and creation, embodied by the gods and their allies. Whether interpreted as a symbolic or literal event, Ragnarok carries profound themes of transformation, the circle of life, and the potential for new beginnings. It reflects the Norse worldview, where endings are not seen as finality but as the catalyst for future cycles and the continuation of the cosmic order.
Gary, there are a lot of religions and cultures that contain the myth of the end of the world, and it usually culminates in a battle between opposing forces. Why do you think this is the case?
The prevalence of myths about the end of the world, and battles between opposing forces, can be attributed to several factors. One possible reason is the human inclination to seek meaning and understanding, in the face of existential questions. The idea of a cataclysmic event or a final battle can provide a narrative framework for contemplating the nature of existence, the transient nature of life, and the potential for renewal or rebirth. Additionally, these myths may reflect the human fascination with the concept of cosmic order and balance. The battle between opposing forces represents a struggle between the forces of chaos and destruction on one hand, and order and creation on the other. It serves as a way to explore the tension between these opposing elements, and the ultimate triumph of one over the other. Furthermore, myths about the end of the world and battles often serve as cautionary tales or moral lessons. They can convey cultural or religious values, emphasizing the consequences of human actions, the importance of virtuous behavior, or the significance of maintaining harmony and balance in the world. Ultimately, the prevalence of such myths across different cultures and religions points to the universal human fascination with the cyclical nature of existence, the interplay of opposing forces, and the search for meaning in the face of the vast mysteries of life and death.
You mentioned events that foretold the start of Ragnarok. Are these events similar to end-of-the-world stories in other cultures or religions?
Yes, the events that foretold the start of Ragnarok in Norse mythology do share similarities with end-of-the-world stories in other cultures and religions. Many mythologies and belief systems have their own versions of an apocalyptic event, or a final battle that marks the end of the world or an era. These stories often involve cosmic battles, the awakening of powerful forces, the destruction of the existing order, and the subsequent renewal or rebirth of the world. While the specific details and characters may differ across cultures, the underlying theme of an ultimate cataclysmic event leading to a new beginning can be found in various mythological traditions.
And what specifically is said to happen that will indicate the start of the end of the world scenario?
Many mythologies mention the occurrence of extreme natural disasters as a sign of the impending end. These disasters can include floods, earthquakes, hurricanes, or other catastrophic events that disrupt the balance of the world. Also, many end-of-the-world narratives involve epic battles or wars between gods, supernatural beings, or opposing forces. These conflicts represent the struggle between good and evil, and serve as catalysts for the world's destruction and rebirth. In some mythologies, the degradation of morals, societal decay, or the spread of wickedness among humanity are seen as precursors to the end of the world. It is believed that a culmination of human wrongdoing will trigger a divine punishment or cleansing.
Gary, this societal decay, as you called it, is also present in the myth of Ragnarok. Why do you think that the degradation of morals was so important to people back then, that they would think it would be a clear sign of the end of the world?
The concept of societal decay and its association with the apocalyptic events can be interpreted in different ways based on cultural and historical contexts. Here are a few possible reasons why the degradation of morals was considered significant in relation to the end of the world in certain mythologies. Many mythologies and religious beliefs emphasize the importance of moral order, and the harmony between humans, nature, and the divine. When there is a decline in moral values or an increase in wickedness, it is believed to disrupt this order and invite divine judgment or punishment. The idea that immoral actions will eventually lead to consequences, including the destruction of the world, serves as a moral lesson and a way to reinforce ethical behavior. Ancient societies often experienced periods of social upheaval, political instability, and moral challenges. These observations of corruption, injustice, and moral decay may have influenced the creation of myths that reflect these concerns and warn about their potential consequences. The concept of the end of the world in many myths is not solely about destruction, but also about the possibility of renewal and rebirth. The idea is that the old, corrupted world must be cleansed to make way for a new and improved one. The degradation of morals can symbolize broader societal issues, such as the erosion of values, loss of social cohesion, or the negative consequences of unchecked human behavior.
But, how would you measure that? Because what constitutes immoral human behavior usually differs among cultures and throughout history.
You raise an important point, Mary. The measurement or definition of immoral human behavior can indeed vary across cultures and throughout history. What may be considered immoral in one culture or time period might not be seen as such in another. Morality is often shaped by social norms, religious beliefs, cultural values, and ethical frameworks that differ between societies. When it comes to mythologies and beliefs surrounding the end of the world, the concept of societal decay or moral degradation is often depicted through narratives and symbolic representations rather than quantifiable measurements. These myths aim to convey broader themes and messages rather than providing an exact checklist of immoral behaviors. The depiction of societal decay in these myths is typically a reflection of the concerns, values, and moral codes of the culture from which they originate. The specific behaviors or actions associated with moral degradation can vary, but they often include themes such as violence, corruption, greed, dishonesty, disregard for others, or a general decline in social harmony. The measurement of morality and its relationship to the end of the world is subjective and context-dependent. Different cultures and belief systems have their own moral frameworks and criteria for evaluating human behavior. What is considered immoral and indicative of societal decay in one culture may not be the same in another.
Okay, Gary. And if we compare apocalyptic scenarios from different cultures, and create a scale of societal moral decline, where would modern humans from the 21st century be positioned on that scale?
The assessment of societal morality is subjective and varies among individuals and cultures. Different perspectives and values influence how one views the moral state of a society. Some may argue that certain aspects of modern society, such as increased individualism, materialism, or ethical challenges posed by technological advancements, contribute to a decline in morality. Others may highlight positive developments, such as advances in human rights and social justice. Ultimately, the placement of modern human beings from the 21st century on a scale of societal morality would depend on the criteria and perspective used for evaluation.
That's it for today's episode. Gary, will you thank the listeners for being with us today?
Here is my attempt. Your presence and participation in this entry have been invaluable. Thank you for joining us in exploring various topics and expanding our knowledge together.
This show was created by Nemanja Kolyaya and produced by Nutka Sound. Check out podcastproducer.org for more information. If you would like to support the show, take a moment to leave a comment. Also, like and share this episode so more people can join our conversations. Follow us on social media under the handle @AIConvosPod. See you in our next episode. I'll be there. How about you? See you on Monday, Gary.
Wait, Mary, what is our topic for the next entry?
I guess you'll just have to wait and see.